Greetings, Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson. I'm the Vice Chair of the Purchasing Oversight Committee. I'm standing in momentarily for Vice Chairman, Chairman Russell, who's also Commissioner Third District and Chair of this committee. We're gonna go ahead and just get started with roll call, just to establish that we have a forum. And I'll just start with myself, Kelly Robinson, Vice Chair of the Committee President.
Commissioner Stanley, Assistant County Administrator President. LaTanya Anderson, Director of Procurement President.
President Perry, Deputy County Administrator President.
Board members, got a forum? Yes, boy. We do have a forum, sounds good. So we have a established forum. To introduce everybody else who's in here, since we're live, we're up.
Herman Cathman. Nancy Outlaw, Procurement President, Bid Contract.
I've read Representative Mr. Robinson.
Very good. All right, we're all set to go. So, procurement, Tanya Amos, this is your agenda, so please pick it up.
Yes, hi, welcome, thank you everyone. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the October 20th, 2022 meeting. Everyone had an opportunity to review, and the item has a motion to approve. So, your second?
Second.
Thank you. We're going to start the agenda
We
with
got a second.
Oh.
Question.
questions. Any questions?
No, all in favor.
All in favor, please raise your hand.
Voting members.
Voting members. It carries 4-0. Yeah, the next item on the agenda is old business update. And I would like to start with a P card administrator at one of our, P card auditor. One of our previous procurement oversight committee meetings, we had a company called Oversight come in and give us a presentation on their capabilities. As everyone here is aware, Douglas County instituted a new P card program last year in June of 2022. We have successfully rolled out the program countywide, and weekly I receive requests for additional P cards. But with that, we would also like to have someone audit from an external perspective our particular charges to make sure they are in line with county policy. So Oversight came in, they gave a great presentation, and they have come back with pricing accordingly for our for Douglas County. And so we have a small proposal. So the purpose here today is to discuss the pricing proposal to see if we can move forward and also identify any funding sources if reviewed. So the pricing that has been proposed for the oversight, and I passed out just a brief deck or PowerPoint presentation, is for up to 5,000 transactions, right? And that is in one calendar year. So accordingly, we've only had 1,000 transactions from June to December, and it was new. And so we said, well, if we double that, 2,000, but yet we're going to continue to expand and roll out. The goal is to move purchases from blankets onto the actual P card, but make purchasing quicker and streamlined with guidelines for the employees in Douglas County. That's why we have up to 5,000 transactions. A one-time implementation fee of $16,250 and an annual subscription fee of $32,500. The initial term will be for 3 years. In the presentation, we have some of the exceptions that they use as far as PFAR compliance, so everyone can kind of be comfortable. Sufficient keywords, i.e. transactions that just kind of look a little ambiguous. We have duplicate charges, expense threshold, split charges. We do know historically in this profession that someone may split a charge to circumvent the regular procurement process and to stay under their single limit transaction. And so you all can take a look, but that's, I just want to leave it there. But right now, but like I said, the one-time implementation fee is $16,000, annual subscription fee is $32,000.
thank you very much for that presentation and that framework of the proposal. So, to the committee, so, let me try that again, it's like 15 up, up, 30,000 times 3.
Yes.
106, and then we've got, if we budget for this part, overall strategy, this, annual budget cycle, this amount in there.
No, this amount was not in the budget because, number one, we just didn't have any pricing, didn't have the data, it was so new. And yet we needed it, but we just didn't, I just didn't even estimate, the P card, auditor, I didn't wanna, ask for too little or ask for too much. So no, we do not have it in the current budget.
Okay, fine. So, fine. So you're gonna analyze transactions for 3 years period of time. You've got a set of, algorithm.
Yes.
You'll be running one that, the two words you put in there. Can you adjust those words in the time, or is it's fixed?
No, we can adjust, in the, as he demonstrated, they have our current policy, and for simple terms, it's gas, right? So what happens is once they pull the data, if there is a gas charge, then they would flag it, send it to essentially here, in our department, and then we would, upon that little research. So, it's fluid. We can always change if we adopt policy, then we, will send in the new policy, and that is the framework for how the artificial intelligence will run behind the scenes.
Okay. So somebody do the math. What is the first one? 32,000 divided by 5. I'm only going to ask you the reason I'm asking is, again, cost for England.
$6.
You have to do, all right, I'm going to yield the floor back, and there's no question, I'll yield back to Madam Vice Chair from here, now Chair of the Committee. So, as a matter of fact, back up, she needs to hear this.
Yeah.
This is a perfect conversation, we just talked about the proposal prices of the party.
Yes. So the company that presented for audit purposes for our P card charges, Oversight has presented us with pricing. And so the pricing, the one time, install fee of $16,000, $250, and a yearly term fee of $32,250, no, $500. And they will provide, the oversight of our P card charges. They will notify us, an alert or send an alert when it appears that a charge is suspicious based upon guidelines that we developed and also within guidelines of our P card policy. Commissioner Robinson asked the question, is it static or is it fluid as far as the changes, as policy changes? And the answer is yes. We can change parameters, we can change guidelines as we develop the actual program. The initial transactions, the quote for 5,000 because during July to December we had approximately 1,000 transactions. So we doubled that 2,000, but yet we are rolling out the program, and I receive requests weekly as far as the P cards throughout the county from the courts and other departments, departments that currently have it as far as expansion. We felt that 5,000 was a good number as far as transactions to begin with as far as the quote is concerned. But we can expand that number. We can go up. And so Commissioner Robinson also asked how much is it as far as the per transaction fee is $6.40. Now I did just remember that with the Bank of America program, the more we put on the card, they do offer a rebate, and I would have to go back and at our account meeting to refresh as far as the rebate in using the particular card. So some of the costs could be offset by the rebate. And finally, I did not include this in my budget ask for 2023. I just didn't have the numbers and just didn't have the data for them to even provide a best guess. holiday.
louder in here.
Oh, that's right. They mix like.
Just, again, just for clarity, so cost per transaction. So the 13,000, you divide that by doubling the 2,000 or the 5,000?
5,000.
That's once we get there. What is it, how big do you think our transaction base will be based on current users and we're expanding it? In other words, we can expand it to still be at that. $6 seems to be somewhat expensive per transaction, you know, our credit card transaction.
Yeah.
So we have the volume for this. That was my first question that you said. So answer that. I mean, how many more people will we add this in? It's your best estimate.
Okay, so we currently have 31, my best estimate is 20 additional users.
You want to read that one?
30.
Not 4 years.
You know, yeah, and I can get 20 by the end of January, 1 in February.
That'll be the full management of your universe. 40, 50, that is a conversation. We still would be under the 5,000 limit.
Yeah.
So if your volume threshold, it says that if I have, this, right, that's fine. I agree with you. That was the first part. And the second part was, was there a budget guide? And this is, as you said, it is not perfect. But then my question then becomes, for the funding. And so I'm going to look to my administrators and say,
So we'll have to look at different options, different finance.
this is technology.
It doesn't say, it is because it's fast. Software as a service.
I mean, just things like you all got to be thoughtful. So I'm going to go ahead and use it for you. You okay?
Thank you. So back to Commissioner Robinson's question. Mine is around the annual subscription fee. I see it says a 3-year term. That's what the contract will be, but it will be $32.5 per 3-year term or per year. Per year. With a one-time implementation fee of $16.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is in comparison to what other companies have you went out to get quotes to see who else is doing.
Well, now that we have the data, I can go out and see other quotes. Right? I chose this particular company because they currently are the state uses them for auditing from a PCAR perspective. So I'm familiar with the organization, how they operate, the emails, because as a previous PCAR administrator, I receive emails every month from the state. Please explain. And I'm like, okay. And so I understood the working. And this particular company had a huge imprint, not only on the more the private industry side, but they just have a bigger footprint. Does that mean that they are the best value to Douglas County? No. But at the time, with everything moving, they were familiar. I called them, and they were willing to come and pick up and forward. And then two, the other element in the room is, do we need them? Our position is yes, because we just don't have the human capability, even if we have a full staff, to look and then mine all of the data that is involved in the charges. So my professional recommendation, we definitely need an audit company of some sort of magnitude to come in and do the work that we just can't do. Really don't.
So I get that standpoint. So for me, and since it's the procurement oversight committee, we must follow our own rules and making sure that we do our due diligence because other departments are looking at us to set the standard. And so, of course, I would say, let's look at other providers before we say yea or nay. And while you're doing that, then we'll allow staff to look at where we could possibly pull this from. And then we can probably look at some more parameters. Is this the right size and fit for Douglas County, seeing that we are just starting out? When you put this all together, this is the salary of one person. It's about $50,000 worth of salary. So we want to make sure that, if this is the way we're going, that it is a benefit to as we're starting out. So that would be my recommendation. But thank you for bringing it forward and look forward to even more information. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, just real quick as a follow-up. So your experience, again, your profession, you work at, what was the volume that you did, that you were experiencing at the county power station, and what was your volume in your experience?
At the state, 17 P card holders, volume was about several hundred a month for my agency. What I did like about the audit program is, for state wide, there was a mandatory furniture contract. As a great example, there was a contract. Furniture was mandatory for particular furniture vendors. So people were buying, let's say, an office chair from Staples. A chair, Staples is you can purchase in Staples, but a chair is considered office furniture. And we will receive an email that says, please provide proof from the Department of Administrative Services. It comes an audit, please provide a receipt, please provide explanation, and you have purchased outside, and then you provide it, like reminder, furniture, and you are now, out of compliance for that. So that was my experience. You would have, let's say, some repetitive charges that appear to be repetitive charges. Let's say air gas in the air, and you have like 150, 100, just for example, and then they would pick it up and say, hey, this is split purchase, and then you provide the explanation to say, no, we actually had 5 different units that came and affected, 5 different units, 5 different charges. And so, and as you grew, we had a lot of registration fees. One person, 300, and say, no, that's a registration fee. And then they change the algorithm to look at those items. And so it was great from a background perspective. Every year at the Georgia Procurement Conference, we would have training and we would have someone from the state attorney's office to talk about fraud and key card fraud, did come up and how they were able to catch it. So again, we assume that everybody is doing a great job. We just say why you just try to find those loopholes that you want to block them.
Okay, now, my closing comment is, so the difference between an audit and compliance, audit is after the fact. You simply don't audit everything, you snap.
Correct.
This sounds like if you acknowledge it, compliance more, as those at the end of a cycle, this is along the way. Right, so that means that if anything comes up, you're measuring it back in along the way every month, you get the first way to the end, and then this is what happened. So I get the value of that, and I get that it's automated. So I'm asking that for example, if you turn this on,
Everything. Every charge, every line, and it gets the detailed data. So for instance, there was charge in my fraud in my agency. There was a charge that came through, as you know, we charged me personally from some vendors, and then there may be a note that says it will appear at, and that particular person would upload fake receipts. And it wasn't until the audit, they actually got into the AI as far as your MSC codes and actually went to that third level data, right? Then that's when they discovered, well, wait a minute, then it started to tell the story. But for us approving it, it looked like all the Depot receipts, it matched the dollar amount, and we approved it, and we went on top.
all right, now I think you answered my question. I'll hold it for right now to you guys come back. So now, Jared, are you?
Thank you so much. And again, we do get the, the need for it, right? And we put the technology in it, of course, getting our investment back out of it, in the hopes that we can have it to that. But things are just the transparency, and you guys are really big in transparency, and the administration, so these are great. So I look forward to getting inside to this. And our next item for business.
Contract terminating. It is our favorite topic here at PLC. Commissioner's Bond and Passion. So contract tracking has not been solidified. We do have a list of all the contracts from 2017 to 2022. We can do I can run a quick pivot table. And I can put this together in a beautiful, more executive presentation, right? It's into the committee here. But I brought this up as far as whole business because we're in a new year. I believe that our contract tracking tool that we have with New World does not support how we do business here in Douglas County. It's great. If we put it in a module, before requisition and it's tracked and your contract is delineated, and it sounds really, really nice. But that's how to use the tool robustly versus just putting the data in and housing it. And because of our internal processes, if we want to just put the data in to house it, then I'm not, it is my professional recommendation that the contract module is not the best tool for us, right? And so as a way of starting to also change behavior around the county, if everyone is aware that has read the memo that I sent out, that all contracts and all supporting documentation has to be attached to the purchases. And that was not germane to a lot of people. And that is what we were able to capture some items that we don't have contracts for. And so what happens is we're stuck and we're in limbo, and that's the first step, is not just knowing what the contracts are, but even having the supporting data in the system. And so I'm now on a phone for just trying to find the best method, so we will know, the best process internally to get the contract in the system. Who should be that particular person or that stop gate up front? And then also the other to catch that is to require the contract in quote for all requisitions that come through the door. And then the other part is, well, is it a contract? Now, most of us know what a contract is, but we have those who may not view it as a contract, right? And when I hire someone to teach a class in the senior center, that's a contract. And but it's on a purchase order, as well as far as an encumbrance. But we need to attach it to the order. And my example does not mean that they aren't attaching. I'm just using it as an example. But every little thing along the way that is a contract. So my team has been diligent this year and given a lot of pushback into those requisitions that don't have a quote and or a contract, because that is supporting your purchase. And so I bring it up. I'm still, I was brought here to clean up contracts and to house it. I don't know what's out there, and I don't know, to still change policies and procedures. Give you another example. There was some group that didn't even know that they should have come here to the DOC, even have Madam Chair sign as a contract because it was an appointment kind of agreement. You know what I mean? The difference. And so we stopped there and we developed a contract. And I told her last week, oh, Madam Chair has to sign. It has to go before the board. Okay, so now as we improve those processes, now we're starting to get more contracts in the door. So with that being said, we can pull them after the fact and we can track them outside of the module. But the best place, the ideal place, the optimal place is in the module.
So, I have a whole bunch of questions in regards to what you just stated. One, as a county, we can't be doing business with anybody that we don't necessarily have a service level agreement with or a contract with for goods or services. One, because we have to account to the public as to what we're doing. Two, if we don't have the data necessary to support when we do make decisions to spend, when we do make these decisions. So it's really important. Three, if somebody defaults on something, what do we have to go back to say, hey, this is our remedy for what you did or did not do, and this is what you stated you were about. So there's so many levels that we need to really get a process for and check, and then core everything should go through legal before it even gets to the VFP, before it gets to the foreman. Clear difference in processes. And five, we need to make sure that on an annual basis, that these contracts are living up to what they specify, so that we can, we're annualizing, and we put in play, how long we should be doing contracts, 3, 5, 7 years. So there's a lot of stuff that we definitely need to come. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. With that being said, since we will allow Ken Robinson to take the first and move up and advocate.
Thank you, Chair. Not necessarily advocacy for myself, but just get there. We have on our contract. My first response to them, we looked at from 2017 to what?
To 2022.
5 6 years. And during that great time, what I heard was, wait, we got people doing work without money. Okay. I didn't say that. Second one, and that's most of it's not one of this.
Yes.
All right, second point is, out of that volume of 2017 to 2022, how many contracts roughly per year?
So per year,
This, whatever we divide it in averages, so we get a total number.
I have a total number of 304 that we've identified for those 6 years.
What, 15 years?
Okay, about 75 a year, and those are the ones I've identified, but in other processes. I was able to identify, and when we say identify for the public, it's a service that we've been doing so long that now I'm requiring supporting documentation and it's not there. Right? It's not there. And for the public, the reason why I'm requiring all of the documentation is when we get a phone call on what's going on, it's in the system and it outweighs all of us in this room, so from a historical perspective. So it's not to slow down business, it's just everything should line up one for one. It should be a quote or a service or a contract, an SLA, something. As I've sat in many board meetings as we all have, and the question becomes, well, where's the task order to support? And then we're running around the department and the paper, where is it, who has it? And so the findings also led to more work because now I don't have a contract and now my RFP list grows a little longer. We don't have a problem with that because it's a cleanup. But it is surprising, it's not surprising, it can be alarming because it's not in the best interest of the county to not have the proper supporting documentation for our purchases. And I am requiring it of my department, and some departments, some departments are taking a little longer to submit their documents.
No, thank you for that. Quickly, but to that point, it's business. And we run this as a volunteer, establishment. When these things are just going on as lifetime contracts as if they're entitled, it's like, what? Remember, you can't bind a future board to any decisions today. So aren't these annual contracts? Aren't we supposed to be signing off on them every year? And just because we've been doing it for 17 years, or 15 years, or 12 years, there needs to be an annualized process that we're agreeing that we want to keep this going. But just because you don't have anything there, so yeah, we're in a transition. I get it, but it's just a year of maturity as a whole. We gotta mature. So part of your role is that this, that's personal. If you have to shut it down, like there's no documentation, the board has to be willing to say, okay, if it's not compliant, you can't move. Like, in other words, like get in the game, guys. So I can't find it. So if you can't find it, that means you gotta start over. Yeah, you'll figure out how to keep it going. But we need your, I just want to hear your position on enforcement. Nothing for you to tell me this is happening. But we're not here all the time. But how are we going to enforce that and make sure, keep the system going, but talk to me.
So one way to enforce is that add stronger language in the procurement policy and finance policy that all purchases, and we can set a threshold dollar amount, must go through the field. Okay, because there were a lot of purchases made directly through finance, and there was no supporting documentation. Okay, and so that's number one. If it comes through procurement, and I say that because I need to be, it is just the role that I sit in. All purchases, all. So therefore, my team now can look at the attachment and say, yes, no, maybe so, and stop. Right? So if we have that filter, then we start to change the behavior and the movement. So they just can't go to finance instantly enough, which is the way people did it. And we talking simple like that with the janitorial. And I'm like, okay, well, where's the contract? We have a certificate of insurance. As I indicated on the memo, that is now a requirement. And it was part of the procurement training. We'll talk about that. But it's a certificate of insurance. So again, if something happens and nothing has happened, For those of us who drive, know that you can say, I haven't had a car accident in 50 years, but it's there and everything is in the file. So that's one way to stop it. Number one, all purchases. P card, and we don't have contract service on P card. And then it comes with PO fund. That's number one. And then number two, we just don't make the purchase. If you do not have supporting documentation, the purchase will not be made. And if it's something that is critical, then it has to be brought to my attention. So I did let one go because it was critical. I couldn't stop this particular service, but I immediately put it on my board and now I'm doing RFP. That's true.
That's good, and thank you for that. I think, so to your point, one of the members, finances would be crucial, and that was the circumvention.
Yes.
Right, where they came from the side or from the top. And there was the alignment, and so I did, with regard to the county administrator on the interim, just to make sure that you can put this in place. So if somebody can walk over there and get that finance person to do something, with that order, then that's us to help do that. Last question is, what is the minimum contract amount? Like, what's the contract? The minimum contract amount that must come before the board?
Well, it's a two-part question. Number one, if Madam Chair has to sign a document, and a document is one that binds the county, it has to come before the board. That is what I have been instructed by legal. So, doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. And so, if Madam Chair signs, it has to come before the board. So, that's one avenue. The other avenue is items that are, most items that get bid out over 50K, that's the RFP process. And they will come, but it could be a contract that we receive statewide or cooperative agreement, fighting for, so it, didn't go out to bid, but yet it still requires a contract, the manager has to sign. So that's why I'm directive, if it is a contract, or if there is something attached that requires signature, and we know we discussed, and as we grow and mature, we can have different signature authorities that, but right now, Madam Chair is supposed to sign everything that binds the county and has some important.
This is one constitution, obviously, other people, this would be clear. It may be written somewhere in my district, recently written, but I know that everything is appropriate.
What the heck just happened?
get the sales from the, I don't want to speak. So Director Worthington, we spoke. So yes, there's money in the budget for a new corner facility. But yet, is my understanding there were funds available for professional services. Now, we can pay for that, not the double.
No, you're okay, no, it's okay, I'm going to help the conversation. Just overall, so, I'll, share with you, so clarify, confirm. So, you may have some software somewhere, somebody's bucket, like where, of course you've got this, your fund balance and stuff. Then you'll pull it. That's the first part, I understand. My second part that my understanding today, and we'll know in a couple weeks, when the board does what it has to do with that. At the corner, originally would have been the fund balance. Like I was really, we knew we had to do it because we were the city, so we were going to take out the fund balance. But now that this law has passed, now it is being slated to be in that bucket in facilities. It's the fourth bucket of 2022 slot. So we need to confirm that staff. He said, the last thing is that there is an amount. Right, so this is not like, hey, come in here, wow, yeah. Like the youth center, like senior center, like, we got so many. We got 5. So I guess as you frame these things, it's how you frame this, I mean, it's already public, so it's already on our list. But I want to be careful that we don't step into it, what are we about to go down? So it's historic, which I know we're gonna do. But specifically, the dollar amount is important here. You can't have no $8 million corners. So that impacts other things in the policy. So I just had to say that for the record, y'all got to confirm that.
Well stated. Yeah, that's the campaign. We talked about it, yes. From another standpoint, that I would like for GCA and ACA to look at is in regards to the safety budget as well, right? There's this facility, there's also a safety island. So again, equipment, those things that would be out there in the corners of the building. We need to look at those avenues. I'm pretty sure I'm sure Redo's full of there, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are looking at all those efforts because public safety coroner's office is important. So please be mindful of that. And then in terms of the design, I know we talked about it publicly because the land that we are looking at putting the coroner's office on is where we now have our homeless population. So we've already allocated funds to movement. And so all of this ties in. So we need to make sure that we are cohesive and aligned when we're doing it. And yes.
All right, real quick, but is David in here?
Yes, sir.
David, what is the current amount that we have on the facilities fund for the corner? What dollar amount do we have?
That's 11% for the facilities bucket, and I believe the coroner, has like a small percent, I think there was an amount was 600,000 was set aside in the capital improvement. So those 1 and 2 amounts that I read out.
So clarify, guys, this point right now, we're at 4 million. So it was 4 million that and 8 million another, so we're doing math. We got 4 million, confirm these numbers. But are you saying, this is to us? Take it out of public safety? It's currently slated for the facility. We will money for public safety here, we can keep it all in here, but we need some guidance from you, and you can sort out.
Right, because we're going to the public safety meeting. My public safety meeting is May, but I just want to make sure that we all know where we're looking to pull it, and I'm looking to you guys to help us align, right? Because it needs to make sense, right? Because we do have to make room for so many other things. We know we can't fund everything, but whatever the board wills as the priority, we need to know where it's. Thank you. All right.
Well, this is on that topic. So I didn't list it, but it was E911 as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And this particular company also does architectural services for E911 as well. So it's public safety, is their specialty. E911 is a lot in doing corner facilities. non-build perspective, we wanna build it, but we have no plan. And one of the things the architect did mention is they, isn't providing the, not just the plans, but the consulting services, of making sure you have the right equipment, that's part of it. And that's part of the RFP is the equipment, the lighting, the electrical. And so, again, that's why I would prefer for them to come in, and I asked them, if you can come in one time for, to give us a presentation on a corner, and someone also come for email.
That's sweet, yeah.
Knock it out.
All right, so, next on the list is, if you want the janitorial, that's one I would bid. This is the one that's for, tax commissioner's office and, the corner facility. That one's going, out, soon.
I have a question. So when it comes to janitorial, or I get the coroner's office is separate, the tax commissioner's office, but what about our other buildings? Like these janitorial services, are needed all across the county for all of the buildings that we know.
So, janitorial has been on my board as an action item, for the last 6 months. This one is, more urgently. So yes, janitorial is needed, and it's needed, more urgently because I don't have, all of the supporting documentation, so it's kind of continuing, and that's why, because we don't have the contract from last year, meaning 2022, here we are now in 2023. So that was part of the support, my statement earlier, and we don't know until we don't know. Yes, we do need a janitorial for the other locations, and I'm on my board, there's a number of locations, which locations, and there's a different need at every location. But this particular goal is more of an urgent need. And we can have a 1-year contract, and then we,
Annualized.
annualize it, yes, we annualize it.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, no, it's funny, so, right, we got what, roughly 33 buildings.
Mhm.
That's about the time. I say important to corner and, but how can we get it done? The units of the mechanism on the youth center, you got the gym on the side, and how they doing it. These are things not just for, it's more about two. So somebody that's doing that, but we're confident in how to get paid. You get all these one-offs that have become involved. It's not a manicured lawn, it's just stuff that is filed up all over the place. And I'm okay with that, like I said, for the records, okay, is that getting done? Who pays for that? Was it volunteer, and the staff, and their team for it, or whatever, we making this up. So where's the standard act, and we have no documentation? I need to keep saying that, if we can help her enforce, what do you mean, how's it getting done though?
So between, so I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know. And that is why with the requirement on every particular PO, whoa, stop, wait, we know. And it's,
You don't have to be defensive, it's not a defensive.
oh, no, I understand. This is how we move forward. This is the why, this is how we put together. You're right, I mean, my staff will tell you, it's been on my board. How many locations, and I haven't read a lot. I mean, but it's just getting to get the time, and so in hiring and training my staff, I should have more questions than, questions, because IT Commissioner Robinson will go into a place and say, okay, how is this being done? And so that is how we will continue to research and continue to across the county.
Where's the money for it? Where's the capital? I don't see. It's just, it's things that, again, we get down to that standard, like, you gotta type this up now you know. Now you know. So we didn't know it's okay, but now you do know, so we just gotta do that. So whatever you do documents for us, it's a cue, stuff we gotta work with, now we think that.
Thank you.
The next on the list is the fire station number 9. Yes, RFP is going out, soon. The next week to 2. I won't say soon because I have 5 that will probably be sold between today and Monday. So we want to pick up fire station. The next on the list is transfer station for the landfill. And that's one of the 5 that's going out.
That's That's been needed.
I know, it's been needed. I was working on it before this meeting today. The fire station, number 9, transfer station, transfer station. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Our transfer station team, our transfer station back to cost, what do y'all funding this thing from? You know what y'all think this thing costs for different facilities? Where y'all funding this from? There was a $3 million thing, but we're not fund balance. A lot of stuff is assuming that we need to get out the fund balance to the swap path, or a reconcilable list. We're looking on what that was now. So you got a fleet, you got a corner, and you got a transfer station, you know, kind of fit facilities.
And email numbers.
Oh, that's not included on my list. I just put a couple here.
No, my point is just stay on transfer station. It's still dollar. You don't know? You know?
Yeah.
Deputy? Y'all reading that about
And my thoughts was, repeat, we have stuff on about 5 minutes.
It's been hold.
No.
There's no room for no one to take back.
Our young just keep up these comments, don't think you guys are like, but if you keep doing what you do, get it out. We're fine with that. Now we gotta catch this and align it now. Because everything, if she's out there like that, she's going ahead without the money. Guys, some may go up. Right, so that makes us look a little off that we're not communicating. I appreciate this committee that we can have this have the open dialogue and you guys are aligning with the people.
And to that point, when we meet with interim county administrator, Mr. Corbin, we think that we have to bring his attention as well. And they'll sit down and have a weekly meeting. This is what should be known as made projects align. You just had a meeting, okay? Yeah, all right.
Next on the list is SWAT program manager. So, that's just for me to do the work session, but that, that's going out in the next 2 weeks as well, because our goal is to have one, to close out March, April, and have somebody. Yeah, they can put the schedule, I didn't bring the schedule with me, I think it's draft schedule, whether to have someone start on May 1. Block, or is it block?
So in the meantime, the spots, if one ends but the other one begins, the collection keeps going, but who's managing it is what we're trying to keep some continuity in. Okay, so us getting that. So you are doing this statewide, you are doing this, okay.
Yeah, and
Alright, so that's,
Take it forward.
yeah, alright, so to that point, you got a list, you're gonna go back to the timeline. And that's when they want to start a slot, that's our first kickoff. If you got their program manager there before then, this is what happened last time. Why everything got off the mark, everything was street lights, everything, everybody had to catch up. It was like 5 or 6 months off before the program managers finally got everything up to speed. You're not getting any around. I know it's where we are right now. But if you're gonna bring them in aspects, almost like landmark, you know, what are we doing now? They should be involved as we, you know, go to New York, you got your cash, but before you launch, you need to have your program manager has to be on cue, so he can lay out the whole schedule for everything. And if you do it just on the day when we go live, like, oh, they're gonna be behind. It's gonna be a lot of investing. You get experience that, so I keep hearing we're gonna keep in about 2 weeks. We're gonna keep slipping. Now we talk about this for like years. We keep slipping. And like, okay, it's gonna harm this block. We did a great job in execution, but it's tough. By keep delaying, getting that in the air. The list is already formed. I need some attention to that. That's vital. Last time we actually had them as part of our trip to New York, we knew who it was. Don't look like we're gonna make it this time, but I think we have them, you know, again, we're trying to sell ourselves. That we got our game ready. We're gonna be good faithful, we're gonna execute, we use these bond money right, we deliver. We got our team, we got everybody wants to go to New York, but okay, but what, like, y'all ain't doing the work in the sense of delivery. I need to have a program manager as part of that, my document. That's why that's important. But I get that you're not there yet, but you need to get in the air. I know y'all work it out, but we need to put some attention on this. That needs to go. The key you sticker on it, on your floor box. And then you think, you don't want to spend all this money and get all this stuff done, but don't you think you'd have that guy at the table? That team, I think, not being neutral, duly noted, but you built the sports spirit. You got it.
Ditto that, in our ideal world, we would have them actually at our SPOS meetings going forward, at every SPOS, meeting. Get ready to have a public safety meeting, we're gonna talk about SPOS, but it would be ideal if we have a program, if you're kind of guiding us as to what should be a priority in terms of money and management and how you order stuff. But, it is it's a priority.
Like, I'm happy you're, so, I'm mindful, that we're doing some other, some for RFPs like night. So that's a priority as well. So I should have something to, for the review, Friday, tomorrow, the team, review.
So that's what we were last night.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was so. There are no more questions about RFP. Yeah, talk about, last week, I, met with Karen training for department head, legal roles, yeah, so last week we did a series class of performance evaluation framework with the department head, presented both the pyramid as well as, period and the teacher performance evaluation. And I think she gave some very great information, so we wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same accord as far as what the rules, the policies and regulations are. And just with that, but it's just the first of some more that we'll have to come. But we think it's very important to do those expressions and make sure people understand that the policy. In a group setting, so that way we can feed off each other and we can ask questions and in case we want to think of something. I thought it was very well, so we should have.
I agree. It was really, really good. All of a sudden, Steve, and our current practices that we have in place, there's going to be some challenges for that. One of the things that stood out to me was when Dr. Reckman talked about the difference between emergency and what is urgent. Because we get emergencies all the time, we fall into the urgent side. It's important, but it does not rise to the level of emergency. So we put a definition to what an emergency. And I thought that if nothing else, that was what the work they also missing. So it was just a really good training, something that should have happened probably a while ago, something that
And Bruce, just in terms of the training rollout for procurement, I have had a request for the directors and even some of the elected officials to be trained more and that whole piece of it, following it all the way through.
I will, I forgot about the New World training. I will add New World training to the list, and I will add to provide training on RFPs in the process and what we do in the department. And so I will add that. And next week I would ask to go to the appraisal office because a lot of them are new and provide them with procurement training as well. And even though this training was kind of high level, not log into New World and itemized it, that training is also needed. And so, and then secondly, I want to roll out the high level training to all New World users, but have one for courts and have one for non-court, right? And we say that because even though they can purchase a little differently, there's still some things that are still common, right? And so that one, they were not applicable, but yet it's the same training, and they need it as well. And a lot of them are that. So I don't receive a lot of pushback at all. Questions, but not pushback. And so, and a lot of times the way I approach training and I get into my training class, it's never about me And if there is, a rule, I typically can support the statute, law, or policy, the support of that particular rule or guideline. So, this isn't a role that, oh, you have to do what I say. It is in the best interest of the county, giving supporting documentation, but also providing people maybe with a comfort to know that we are certified. I'm supposed to know Georgia law, federal law, county, law. I do, and there's certifications that go along with that, local and yet national as well. And so we're just not, saying these things to make everyone's job difficult. What we're saying is we're trained professionals and we're here for the best interest of the county.
And also bonded.
And we are, and I am bonded, and my staff is bonded.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious, what was the audience? Your government, you guys, or your government, or with other elected staff in your department?
It was a department head, and so one of the things that we see here and we're working on is, they having a trainings for everything. We have a schedule we're working on with that. And we have to do them sometimes separate, so we'll do the directors, we had customer service training, strategic planning training. We had one for the directors, but then we can't have one in here for all of the elected officials that wanted to, on the court side of the VA, solicitors and people like that. So we'll be doing different ones. If you guys, I can get you a schedule of all the training. Yeah, we have a couple that had some pre-planned, things that couldn't get out of it.
That is all I have.
So, is there any other additional items to come before the procurement oversight committee? If there's no other further items, we'll call this meeting adjourned at 2:07. Thank you all for coming in.